I keep getting these, I hate the word downloads, but I keep getting these messages like through my channel to talk about grief. I have no idea why. But I'm not ready to talk about it in the way that I'm being directed to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about it from the metaphysical body point of view, where grief lives in the body. And if we don't move through and process our grief on any level, from the loss of a loved one to the loss of a job to the loss of your pet to the loss of whatever, grief is just a loss and a hole that's been left. And what fills that hole is that overwhelming emotion of grief. It fills that vacuum hole, right? We start to call everything in around us that the grief is pulling in. Now, grief in the metaphysical body, or in a metaphysical sense, it lives in your cardiovascular system. So it lives in your lungs, heart, places like that. So when we haven't processed our grief at the time of it happening or shortly thereafter, or we continue to work on it actively, right? What will happen is, over time, like anything else, you will start to manifest the diseases in that area of the body, or that have that are linked to the cardiovascular system. I've worked with many people. We have unraveled this. We have seen this. We understand what their physical diseases are telling them right now. Now, that doesn't happen like overnight, right? That is a slow, gradual process that will happen over time. It'll live in your 7 bodies that are out from your physical body, and over time it will seep all the way through until you've managed to manifest it into your physical body. So that's where grief sits, is in the lungs and in the cardiovascular system. So anybody who has any kind of, and yes, you can bring this in with you from a past life. Children can bring it in with them from a past life as well. So if you have children who have asthma, and I am not a medical doctor, I work in the spiritual realm. So anybody that is listening to this, I am not giving you medical advice. But what I would say is, and I say this about every single disease that I work with people in their body, is that you continue on your mainstream path with the doctors and medical team's health, right? We're not talking about that. But what you do complementary to that, to help move that healing process along, is you do all the other stuff, all the other things, all the other natural ways of doing things. They complement each other for a reason. So I am not giving medical advice, but if you're somebody who's going to say, but my kid has asthma, where did they get my kid was born with whatever, generally speaking, that is a bleed. And I'm going to speak very generally, because unless people are actually working with you, they're not going to be able to tell you what is going on. That's like a doctor getting on and talking in from a mainstream point of view and just giving you a blanket response without actually seeing you, right? A doctor is always going to want to give you a physical examination so they know what your story is, and it works the exact same way in the spiritual realm. But grief lives in the chest, in the cardiovascular areas. So if you're somebody who's experienced a lot of grief, or grief a long time ago, and you're now seeing a correlation between you've developed some kind of cardiovascular issue, there's a really good chance that has been brought on from a manifestation of not dealing and processing the emotion of grief.